Welcome to the next episode of Adamas. Today we're joined by Josh Bolland, who is the co-founder of technology innovation business JB Cole, and he's also the chair of Beamer Manchester. Hi Josh, how you doing?
Thanks for having me today, Leon. Really appreciate you asking me to come along and join you on the podcast.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for giving up your time. I know you're a busy man, both professionally and personally, having two children under the age of 2.5?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. Just the two right now. But yeah, that's definitely a challenge. I think running a business and having two very young kids is like having two families. And so getting the balance is always a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I bet.
Well,
you're not looking too bad, mate, because
Thanks,
you probably had about 4 hours sleep.
But I am under the age of 30, so so I don't know how good I'm looking for that.
Josh, so I want to kick off by you sharing a bit of your professional story. I think you're the first person I've ever met who ventured into the business world at the tender age of 18. So starting your entrepreneurial journey, if I can get my words out, at that young age, how did it all begin?
This is a good question, and one that I've tried to pin down a few times over the years. So I started out pretty young in graphic design and dabbling around with graphic design, Photoshop, things like that, probably from the age of about 14, 15. And it was at the time where MySpace was quite a big thing, if everyone remembers MySpace, which was a great social media platform at the time. We used to be able to create MySpace layouts and things like that, and that was kind of where I started dabbling with design and HTML and things like that, and putting those sort of pages together. And from that, I realised I wasn't a very good graphic designer, so it's probably best that I move on from that. But I got into photography. And it just became a bit of a passion. Picked up a really, really cheap camera and started taking pictures. And at the time, there were a few friends of mine around my area in northwest London who were into grime music. And they used to have studios in their houses and all that sort of stuff. And they used to have loads of acts from all over London turn up at their house and record all their songs and do all that sort of stuff and albums and various bits. And I started doing the photography for a load of their album covers. And it kind of then segued from there. So I started doing photography with them, and then I started to be able to charge for it, and then people were like, people were wanting me to kind of do it, and I was probably about 16, 17 at the time. And then it kind of progressed from there, really. So once I started making a bit of cash from it, I went, actually, this is a really interesting, business idea. My friends were doing maybe Saturday jobs and earning not much, and I was doing this and doing all right for myself.
And you must have met some really cool people on the way.
Yeah. It was always quite funny when you had like gangster rappers at your mum's house in the front room, and she'd come home going, "What's going on here?" But it was quite funny, yeah. It was a good laugh, and we did meet some good people on the way and had some great kind of experiences. So from there we then moved into we got a first office. We then got a photo studio when I was about 18, which is where we officially set the company up. And the rest is kind of history, really. That's where it all started. Yeah.
So 10 years in, that's a fantastic milestone. Congratulations. What have been the key challenges to growth over that period?
Yeah, there's been quite a number of challenges. I think starting a business at a young age anyway is quite challenging, whereby you go to networking events and you're probably the youngest in the room by about 25 years. That's always a challenge, when you are young and inexperienced in the world of business or pretty much anything you're doing at the time. That does come with its challenges in that, people do see you as a younger person, or at least you perceive they do. And so people can be quite patronising.
And that's ballsy in itself, let's be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, yeah. It was quite daunting. My first times of going networking and things were pretty scary. But, I think after the first few, you break yourself in and you kind of, can push forward with it.
So if there are some younger listeners, how do you go about building some level of credibility at such a young age when you are surrounded by more elder statesmen?
Do I have credibility nowadays? That is the question.
100% you do.
Do you know what? I think it's about doing a fantastic job, no matter what level of competency you are, no matter what kind of stage you're in. Like, as long as you can do the best job you can do at the time for them, and you start being, and you don't have to be the most professional person in the world. You don't have to. I think one of the things that we tried to do was always be really professional, and kind of pushed ourselves into a space that it didn't really work for us. We weren't those sort of corporate clean cut type of people. It was very much a bit more kind of authentic what we were doing at the time, and actually being more open with people about the fact that you weren't this 15, 20 years experience. Actually, you were a bit younger, and you were obviously, which was obviously recognisable anyway. Actually delivering on that type of thing with the authenticity of you being a young person who is doing the best they can do to do this work. people appreciate it.
Yeah.
And also, you're a bit cheaper than than everyone else at the time.
But you add lots of value.
But you add lots of value,
Yeah.
you know. And so when you get that balance right, it does definitely kind of help start building that credibility. And then it's like with everything, isn't it? You get one case study, you get a testimonial, you kind of get referred in, and you keep going like that, I guess.
And what kind of work is it you do for your variety of clients?
So nowadays, it's obviously very different. So since about 2010, we've really pivoted. So now we've moved much more to be a technology-focused business. And that's because my co-founder, who's my brother as well, was at a university, and he had written a website, or written a couple of websites for his previous job, and he'd come out of the job to be a writer of all things. And I said, well, why don't you come and work with me for a bit in the studio? And actually we had an office at the time. Why don't you come work with me in the office for a bit, and then, you know, write your book and do all that sort of stuff. But you know, get some work while we're there. And he's never written a book, and he's been working with me for the last 11 years now.
You slave driver.
9 years, I should say. So we've kind of started building from there, and we've taken various kind of guises and pivots along the way. But we went from being much more of a visual and graphic based business to much more of a web based business, and then from there, because we could build quite complex technology, web technology, people started buying us more and more to kind of help support with much more complicated technology builds. One of the kind of cliched points of what we do, but really one of the main points is we do, you know, we look at where a business is at the moment, and we look at where they want to be based on their business objectives, their goals, and we help build them up through the right digital technologies, the right digital strategy, and put the right things in place to improve their marketing all the way through to their operational processes and workflows and things.
I'm really interested in the whole dynamic of how you work in business with a sibling. So I don't know if I'd ever be able to work in business with my brother. But how do you delineate who's responsible for what, and how's that worked?
I take all responsibilities. No, not at all. That's unfair. Sorry, Ollie. We actually work with.
I can edit that bit.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, keep that in. He can hear that bit. No, but really, I mean, it has been hard. You know, over the years, it's not been the easiest kind of thing. But at the same time, we both have our own strengths. Ollie's the brains and I'm the mouth. You know, it's kind of one of those things where I was good at. Well, actually, he's a good salesman himself, but I was probably better at kind of selling the idea of what we did to people. Yeah. People kind of buying into me about the creative vision of things, and then when they saw him and could understand that he could kind of back up the technical aspect of that, it worked as a real good coupling. So we kind of split the roles off quite early on in terms of what we did and how we approached things, but then from a business level, we probably took a bit more time to figure that bit out, because, you know, who runs the show, who is in charge of, and who does make those final decisions. When you're both 50-50 shareholders of a company, who makes those decisions? Actually, you can kind of block on things. What we tended to do was work with mentors and advisors, and actually by getting their outside counsel was always quite useful, because it allowed us to go, well, yeah, all right, I completely see your point, but actually this is the better option, and that person agrees as well. So that having that third person became quite valuable to us. And as we started to build the team up, we kind of relied on them a bit as well to be able to, you know, put that kind of input in. And so that if someone within the team thought that something else was a better idea, actually, you know, you start getting more than one person thinking it, and it's easier to make decisions. But really, you know, if we look at the cut of what we do now, I oversee more of the kind of functional business side of things, and then Ollie does a lot of oversees all the technology side and technical delivery of things. So they're two quite clear-cut parts. But yeah, it took a while to get there.
Yeah. And there's loads of upsides to running your own business or setting up your own business. But what I've learned over the years, it's about enjoying it, playing yourself in the right position where you feel like you're adding value and really helping take the business in the right direction. So it's really interesting to hear. Actually, you touched on mentorship, and myself knowing you over the years, that you have really reached out to some influential figures that have helped you.
Yeah, so over the years we've had a number of different mentors. We've had paid advisors, we've had non-paid, we've got non-exec, you know, today. By the very nature of being in this industry, to have, you know, external kind of input is so useful and so beneficial. Yeah. And we started going to things like Beamer, and the Agency Collective. And then when you're there, you meet them, and then you end up chatting to them, and a few of them become good friends. And so over the time, you know, we've kind of established some good relationships with some really good, credible people, and who I'd consider friends today. And for me, that's been a really valuable part of our kind of journey is getting the advice from them, getting the guidance from them. And it may just be as simple as going for a beer with one, with each other and just kind of having a chat. But you just get such valuable advice, and people are so willing to help. And that was one of the reasons why we were so interested in Manchester as well, as a place to base ourselves, because originally we were based down in London. We moved up to Altrincham, and I had an office in Altrincham for about 6-7 months, and it was just me in there for the first 3 or 4, and then we brought.
That must have been tough.
Yeah, and it was tough actually. Yeah, completely new location. Didn't really know that many people, and started building from scratch.
Hustling
really,
again.
Hustling. Yeah, it was like going back to square one. And then we brought in our first Manchester employee up here, who's still with us. He's just coming back from a sabbatical, actually.
Fantastic.
He's been on a lovely trip to New Zealand. Not jealous. And we've been fairly nomadic as a business. We've been in London, and we moved around a few times. Then we moved to Watford. We went, if we can do it in Watford and still have all our London clients, we can do it anywhere. Yeah. And Manchester had been put on my radar anyway, because my partner's originally from up this way, but more to Cheshire. And I used to come into Manchester to do a bit of work and things. And I'd met obviously your business partner, Richard, many years ago, and he'd always said, if you're ever interested in coming up to Manchester, then let me know, and I'll happily introduce you to some people. And he was a man of his word. He absolutely did, and he started introducing me to a number of people, and obviously I met yourself through Richard, and he'd been really integral to us kind of getting those relationships off the ground, and so really, really beneficial for us to again meet the right people, know the right people, and then open up doors that we probably wouldn't have opened up originally.
Great. How has the move to Manchester impacted on your business, and what's the state of JB Cole today?
So we're doing well. We've got some fantastic clients in and around the northwest, and we're taking on more. So that's been really good for us to actually start becoming part of the northwest scene, and being recognised in things in the northwest as well is fantastic. So it's definitely been a interesting journey. It's been tough at times, definitely really tough, through personal challenges plus business challenges, all kind of wrapped up into one big mass of a few years, plus having 2 young kids when we moved up to Manchester as well. It's been, there's a lot on my shoulders, I think, at the minute, but it's enjoyable, and I think I'd rather be busy than not.
And I bet you wouldn't change it for anything, would you?
Certain things I might. No, I wouldn't. To be fair, I wouldn't. The journey's part of it, isn't it? And like you say, you've got to enjoy it. And for all the bits that are unenjoyable, there are so many bits that are enjoyable. And I don't. That's the one thing I think that we've had such an interesting journey and such an exciting journey. And where I say we've been quite nomadic with things, actually that's kept it really interesting. It's kept the business really vibrant and dynamic, and we've moved when we felt it was right. And, so we've done all those things to kind of keep the business ticking and moving forward. So it's definitely a challenge, but a very enjoyable one.
Great. You mentioned the word community, and I know you've been an active part of BEMA over the years, and you recently became the chair of BEMA on January the 1st this year. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much.
For those listeners who don't know anything about BEMA, can you explain what it is and the value it delivers to its members?
So BEMA is really the kind of key, one of the key digital organisations in the UK. A nationwide body it was established in about 1985, and it was one of the original, digital-focused organisations. And I've been a member for, probably for about 8 years, from a membership perspective. And the value that it gave us was significant. Really, for me, one of the key things is absolutely the network that it provides you with. Yeah. It's a network like no other. You don't really get that network anywhere else. The people that are involved in BEMA are fantastic. The businesses that are involved in BEMA are extremely good businesses, and the opportunities that you get from that. So the likes of the directors' dinners, to be able to sit around with maybe 12, 15 directors of agencies, digital companies, technology companies, and some of the leading people in the industry, to sit around a dinner table from them when you're just a member, and they're, at the time, kind of these elite people in your kind of horizon is fantastic. Absolutely, second to none. The quality that you get from that is unbelievable. And the things like the Beamer breakfasts, to actually go and get insight again from really well-established business owners, hear them talk on panels, talk directly in presentations and things. Those sort of events and that type of thing is just so valuable. But then you also get those people. So when you're part of that Beamer community and you need to, find someone to talk to, or you need to be, you want to build a community under the Beamer banner, you can do that, and you can access all those people, and Beamer will be really supportive of making that happen. So it really is a good organisation for businesses of all different sizes to get involved with. But we do recommend it, and I always have done, and I recommended it before I became chair and before I was on the council last year, and because I believed in it, and that's why I wanted to get involved in it. So when I came to Manchester and I saw that Beamer wasn't really being pushed in Manchester, and there are obviously some other organisations that are, I thought, well, why not? Let's really drive this forward. And then got in touch with Ian Finch, who was overseeing the northwest side of things, and then worked alongside Carl Barker from Cube 3 and on building everything up. And so it's been a really good journey. And again, made some friends along the way that I may not have made before, and opened up a lot of doors.
And it's really gathering some great momentum in Manchester, which is great.
Yeah.
And as you say, you mentioned Ian, you mentioned Carl, and now you're in the hot seat, and I've got no doubt that you're really going to drive the brand awareness and the profile. And I'd urge people who aren't involved to really get involved. We joined Beamer as a business about 8 years ago, and above and beyond the peer-to-peer learning that you've discussed, I think the network of people that you meet is invaluable. And you just touched on it then, Josh, saying that the friends that you make. I think a lot of the people that I've done business with, and I now would call my friends.
Absolutely.
And you've not mentioned the Beamer ski trip, which is the highlight of my year. It goes into the calendar. Goes into the calendar. It's etched into the calendar in stone. And that's great. And that's 30 people within the industry that go skiing and really get to know each other. And the après ski, that's pretty legendary.
Absolutely. And it's those type of things, isn't it, that you don't, when do you get the opportunity to do that in your day-to-day? You don't really. And it's enabling opportunities like that to happen and bring those people together, and that's what it's all about. That's the value of that membership, is that you're just so involved with
so if I'm not a member, if I'm listening, I'm not a member, how can I get involved?
So welcome to come along to any breakfast briefings. So we run a number of breakfast briefings around Manchester. Come along to them, check the people out, meet people, good opportunity to network. We usually get between 70 to 100 people come along to them. So there's some fantastic people in the room as well as on the panels and things. Come along to that, see the value, speak to people there, or go on the website. There's a registration page on the website where you can literally just go and sign up and become a member pretty much instantly. But definitely, if you've never had any exposure to it, I would come along to an event and see for yourself the sort of value that people get from it.
Yeah, and as with all these things, like a gym membership, you only get the benefit from it the more you throw yourself into this community.
100%. And if I may, on that point, it's a really interesting one actually, because I speak to a lot of people who time and time again kind of say, so what did you get out of Beamer, or what did you get out of Agency Collective, or what did you get out of these things? And I'm like, well, you only really ever get what you're going to put in, and if you're not showing up to the events and you're not going to those, those meetups or those breakfast briefings or those dinners or lunches or whatever the case is, if you're not going to them, well, you're not going to be meeting those people. There's no way you're going to be getting the value from it.
And what's the future for JB Cole? What sort of vision have you got over the next 3 to 5 years?
Stay alive. No.
What, the business or you?
Both. Yeah. No. Keep growing. We're on a really good curve now, and for us, the plan was always build a business, grow the business. We don't have any clear-cut exit plans or anything like that. We built the business based on stuff that we've loved doing and enjoyed doing, and we want to continue that journey. We want to continue the journey with the right people on the bus. So it's all about recruiting for the right people, getting the right people in place, and just building not both the client list but also the skills we have in house, developing our kind of delivery, and really improving as we go, and just making sure that everything that we put out is the best it can be. So growth is on our cards right now. That's our big kind of focus at the minute. And so, over the next few years, we're hoping to continually kind of push the headcount, continually push the client base, and kind of continue on the path we're on at the moment.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to hear you talking with so much passion and energy about both your own business and Beamer. I really appreciate you spending your valuable time. Can we talk to me? But one final question I'd like to ask all guests that come in at the end of the podcast is, what would be one piece of parting wisdom that might help anyone listening who are on their own entrepreneurial journey?
There's a load of nice things that could be said about it. I think really the key thing that I've focused on over the years, that I've really kind of had to stay true to in the journey over the years, is perseverance. Is just keep going with it. If you believe in it and you're passionate about it, there are going to be so many hard times. For all the good times, because there are fantastic good, and I hope I haven't sounded really pessimistic in this.
Not at all.
There are so many good times in this journey, like it's ridiculous. The highs are extremely high, but the lows can be really low.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a big kind of focus at the moment, especially, which is fantastic, and so much awareness around mental health and things, and actually, don't kill yourself doing this. Like, if you don't enjoy it and you don't love it and you're really hurting yourself mentally and physically, don't do it. Like, move on and do something else. But if you're passionate about this and you want to build your business and grow things, and push things forward, perseverance is absolutely integral, because there will be those times where you'll hit that wall and just go, don't want to get out of bed today because I really can't face the challenges that are going to come. Actually, if you push yourself through those things, you feel so much better at the end of that. And actually, by working yourself through those different challenges and kind of keeping your head strong and moving forward with things, you do get through these things, and actually it becomes, a more refined, well-oiled business from that as well. But perseverance is definitely something. It's not the easiest thing.
No one ever said it was going to be easy, right?
No. Absolutely.
Great. Josh, top man, thank you so much for coming in. Look forward to everyone listening to the podcast.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. Cheers, mate. Next episode of Immersed, I'm thrilled to announce that I'm going to be joined by a professional podcaster, Steve Bland, a BBC journalist. You may well know him also from the podcast You, Me and the Big C. Hope you can all tune in and listen to what he's got to say.